rest of the team.
All right, so I'm Tyler Ritter. This is Amber Delaney, Abby Hartford, Vincent Bilodeau, and Lisa Crow. Hello, school board members. We have been tasked to create a tree management plan for this district. In order to create a successful and sustainable tree management plan, there are many aspects that need to be accounted for while keeping in mind the interests and importance of our stakeholders. We have created a proactive tree management plan to ensure the longevity of this urban forest. Our management plan includes regular tree inventories, soil quality tests, rooftop gardens, the implementation of a new tree species, and an integrated pest management plan, and a hazard tree assessment. Please consider adopting this plan for the Springfield Public School District.
This plan takes place on the Springfield Public Schools property, but it affects much more than what is contained within it. Some of the stakeholders include the municipality of Springfield, who, with the more trees, would see more infrastructure. Also, the school children of the Springfield Public Schools would show a lesson level of ADHD, better grades, and better concentration. The school board, you, would also see higher property values to the land, heightened aesthetics, and you'd also see happier kids, which led to happier parents, which equals happier administration. The staff would also see an improvement, with less frustration and heightened performance in the classrooms. The families would also see a better attitude in their kids, and they would get a place to be together in the shade. The athletic teams would also have a place in the shade and less stress. And also, they would find that the fields are more appealing. Recreationalists like joggers and bike riders would also have the shade to ride in and would show less stress. And also, families thinking about moving to Springfield would also have a better impression of how good the school really is. And lastly, tourists visiting would see the aesthetic appeal of the property and think more highly of this education.
In order for this plan to be implemented, we will need top-down support in the school district and city. We have come to you in hopes that you will support this cost-effective plan. In addition to all their other benefits, trees are the only form of infrastructure that appreciate rather than depreciate over time. The support of the community is vital for our plan to succeed.
The Ozarks are a place of great beauty, rich culture, and extremely high temperatures with very humid air. The trees around the school provide shade for many gatherings of family and friends. When the Ozarks were first established, the people relied a great deal on the land for all that it had to offer. Most of what they had was made out of natural materials. The increased amount of trees on the school property will give the school and the community the tie with nature that it has had for so long.
The existing forest management plan has a few solid aspects and practices, but it also has some serious flaws that need to be addressed. The current tree inventory is in good shape, however new inventories should be conducted every 3 years. The quantity of trees on the property is okay, but could be improved by adding more trees. The current inventory says that there are 44 black walnut trees out of the existing 190 trees on this property. Thus, slightly more than 23% of the trees on the school's property are of one species. This does not follow the 10-20-30 rule and leaves our trees at risk of being wiped out by one disease or pest. The current plan, unfortunately, seems to be more reactive, with trees being at high risk, improperly pruned, and decaying. These trees tend to have moderate to high risk ratings, and because this is a school and the trees interact with the community every day, they need to be managed more diligently. Our plan focuses on being proactive rather than reactive. In turn, this will make the trees healthier and less costly to maintain in the future, increasing their overall benefit.
Currently, 33 of the 190 trees on the property have a risk rating higher than 7. This means they pose a high risk of failure and could cause serious damage to nearby people or buildings. In order to reduce such risk, we must manage these trees properly, either by pruning dead or dying branches, properly cabling or bracing, or in extreme cases, removing the entire tree.
We are planning to integrate 2 new trees, among others, to this district. One is a native species, the other is non-native. The native species is the American sycamore. This tree will have no problem surviving in the Missouri climate. It also has a high aesthetic value with its nice canopy and unique bark. It will also provide shade during the summer. One con to this sycamore is that it prefers wet soil, and watering will be vital in the young stages.
The other non-native species is the ginkgo tree. We would be planting a cultivar of the ginkgo with specific genetic traits. The tree is dioecious, so we will only plant clones of the male tree because the female produces an unpleasantly smelling fruit. The ginkgo is deciduous, so it will block sunlight in the summer and allow it to pass through in the winter. It is extremely durable as it survived the nuclear bombing in Hiroshima. It also has great aesthetic value as it leaves turning beautiful golden brown in the fall.
Oftentimes, the soil in urban areas is below par when it comes to growing trees. The top layer of the soil is often gone. Soil nutrients are usually low due to the lack of organic matter, and soil gets compacted when people walk on it. These are a few of the countless problems that hold trees back or even kill them. If we want healthy trees, then our first focus should be on what we are growing them at. As the saying goes, it's better to plant a $5 tree in a $50 hole than a $50 tree in a $5 hole. To battle these problems, we will need to take soil tests of the existing and future tree sites. These should be done at the same time as the tree inventory. The test could be sent out to the University of Missouri, be evaluated, and then returned. This will tell us if we need to add fertilizer to the soil, make the soil more acidic or basic, and in the event that the soil's bulk density is over 1.6 grams per cubic centimeter, replace the soil altogether.
In order to be more proactive and keep our trees healthy, we will implement a plan for effective tree pruning and upkeep. Both of the full-time employees that we are employing would be trained in arboriculture and proper pruning techniques. As influential arborist Alex Shigo shares, compartmentalization of disease in trees, or CODIT, is in the way in which trees respond to damage. In order to promote CODIT on our property, proper pruning techniques must be applied. So this means no flush cuts that make it difficult for the trees to compartmentalize, and specifically make sure cuts are made just outside the branch bark ridge, and use the 3-step method for larger tree branches. Also, this pruning will be done every 3 years, or as is dictated by the specific needs of each tree.
In order to be prepared for any unexpected disasters or damages, we will be proactive and set aside any unused funds from out of our budget into an emergency fund. The emergency fund will continue to grow year after year and will only be used when an unexpected disaster occurs.
One part of our plan includes integrated pest management. The first step is to identify your pest. We were considering using the emerald ash borer, but seeing that there isn't a large population of ash trees on the property and that their health isn't very good, we decided to go with the walnut twig beetle, which is the vector for the 1,000 canker disease, because of the large population of black walnuts on our property. The second step is the threshold. Even though these are small beetles, our threshold would be very low, because it's not necessarily the beetles that we're concerned about, but the disease that they carry, which spreads very rapidly. The third step is to monitor. This would be done by keeping track of where this beetle is in Missouri and around the country, and to monitor our trees to make sure we don't already have this disease. The fourth step is control. This is a 3-step method. The first is physical. This would be done by quarantining. If we know areas where there is this beetle, we would make sure firewood and other wood products do not get onto our property. The second step is biological controls. Since there are no known biological controls for this pest, we would go to the third step, which is the last step, which is chemical. This we would use sterile agar, and that would be used to put on the disease to contain it and to hopefully shrink it.
With all of the urban forestry occurring around the district, the school could create an arboriculture class to teach students the values and science of trees. Hands-on activities could include teachers and students going out and properly pruning trees. This would create a free and educational workforce for the maintenance of the trees. Kids can also create educational posters about what they've learned and hang them up around the school for other students to learn.
We plan to add rooftop gardens as a low-impact development practice. Adding rooftop gardens will decrease the amount of impermeable surfaces and reduce stormwater runoff. A garden also serves as a form of insulation, which can help save on heating and cooling costs. It will also add aesthetic value to the school with a well-maintained garden.
Keeping our budget in mind, our management plan is relatively cheap. We're not asking for any further equipment to maintain the trees. We are only asking to have enough funds to consult a professional arborist and money for acquiring software that helps us record our tree inventories and calculate the amount of benefits that we get annually. We would also need simple tools like a Biltmore stick, a clinometer, diameter tape, and sounding hammer. But those won't create a huge cost because the price of the equipment will not cost over $50. If this plan is not implemented, thousands of dollars could be lost through the degradation of the surrounding community forest.
According to Springfield Public Schools ground coordinator Blaine Radford, the new tree management plan should have a larger focus on decreasing energy costs by using urban forestry. The school already has deciduous trees planted on the south side of the building. These trees have leaves in the summer blocking heat from reaching the building, but lose their leaves in the winter and allow heat to pass through to melt the snow. These trees save the school $15,082 in energy savings each year. We believe that if we plant the trees along the bare west side of the school, we can increase our energy savings even further.
As the first year of the plan is implemented, hazard trees will be taken care of. Harvested wood will be turned into mulch, and our integrated pest management plan will go into effect. Biannually, we will repeat our maintenance evaluation and see what trees need to be pruned. During the second year, the new tree species will be introduced. We will conduct a tree inventory, which will be repeated every 3 years. The new arboriculture class will be offered, and the rooftop garden will be implemented. During the third year and on, we will continue with what we have been doing. As our urban forest becomes healthier due to proper pruning, pest management, and proper inventory management, managing them will require less work and money.
When forming our tree management plan, we kept in mind having equal balance of society, economy, and environment. By having an equal balance of all three aspects, we successfully meet our C goals when dealing with urban forestry. Society benefits from urban forestry by creating a sense of togetherness. A close-knit society leads to a happier society. Urban forestry also has been proven in reducing crime rates by half as much, and is responsible for a 25% drop in domestic violence. This not only benefits society, but also the economy in not having to spend as much money in the police force. Urban forestry is responsible for reducing stress and causing people to feel less overwhelmed, thus lowering blood pressure. Trees positively influence the mood and well-being of people, which is an extreme factor in looking at the school's tree management plan. Trees not only hold positive psychological benefits and save money, they are a key factor in helping the environment. In Kathy Wolf's research, she found that a tree canopy of just 5% reduces stormwater runoff by 2%. This lessens the chances of soil erosion and flooding. Trees act as great buffers, filtering water.
Our plan will provide multiple benefits for surrounding wildlife. By keeping the district's trees healthy and sustainable, we will provide both habitat and food for wildlife. Songbirds can make homes in the canopies, and squirrels and chipmunks will eat the mast that the trees produce. The trees will also provide shade for these animals on especially hot days.
Trees are nature's water filters, so planting more trees and managing our existing ones will improve the water quality of the surrounding water bodies through various methods. Trees slow down the velocity of rainwater by catching it in the canopy and slowing down its fall, decreasing erosion and caused by its impact. So trees also act as a water catch by absorbing some of the runoff with its roots, filtering pollutants and bacteria that were washed along in the runoff. And roots also act as a way of pulling some of the surface runoff down into the soil to be filtered into the water table or body of water. Trees also slow down the speed of water running into water bodies, which lessens the chance of flooding caused by a rush of water after a large amount of rainfall. This improvement of water quality will come back around to help the community by keeping good water quality for drinking. Also, by lessening runoff, the amount of nutrients that enter the streams and other water bodies would be decreased, which would eventually avoid nutrient loading and eutrophication in the clear streams. This protects fish and other species that call the water bodies their home.
In conclusion, we plan to take a struggling forest management plan and revitalize it into a well-sustained and economically feasible urban forest management plan. Our plan keeps in mind the values of the stakeholders while ensuring the productivity of the district's urban forest. Thank you for your time.
Based on the tree inventory, we know that there's some trees that will have to be removed. The general public doesn't always like that. They don't always react well. Sometimes they have an emotional bond with the tree. How would you deal with that?
So in our plan, we're talking about working with an arborist. And also, like, there's some ways we can have community meetings to help spread the word. And also with the arboriculture class, like with parents seeing the posters around the school, they might see that that's a needed practice.
And it's also important to realize that even the reason the tree is being removed is because of the overall health of the tree, and keeping it there while it's like falling apart just isn't reasonable because it can cause damage to nearby targets.
Conversely, I'm, as a school board, we're strapped with funds, and it seems to me it might make more sense to actually eliminate the trees. We don't have the maintenance. I can put these 2 other employees on some other deal. I can sell the bucket truck and all that other stuff. That seems like a more viable solution to me. What is your response to that?
Actually, yes. I'd just like to mention that you've already seen an overall benefits chart from the school ground already, and as Tyler said, we saved quite a bit on energy, the less use of energy, and in addition, our plan implements planting trees on the west side, which would increase that by quite a bit. So that would save you money in the long run.
And it's not just energy, it's also aesthetic value that the trees are adding. It's cleaning the air, it's all those different things. It saves actually a lot more money.
And many people view your surrounding property of the school towards your education. So trees, when you go to a school, add what you would think of the education from the school.
Plus the increase in infrastructure, so you'll be getting that added value as the tree gets older.
It adds to your property value too.
What do you feel is the major strength of your plan?
One of our major strengths is probably how we're trying to bring the whole community together to like revitalize this urban forest. We're implementing new classes into the school, like the arboriculture class. So not only are we helping out the community with aesthetic value and all those kind of savings, we're actually teaching the kids in the school like the value of trees and the science of them and their real importance to the world. So we're just trying to really put emphasis on that.
And kids are the best way to get other kids to learn something. And also parents. If the kids are coming home saying, oh, I learned this new today and I went outside and did this, the parents are a lot more likely to understand why we're doing this.
What was the tree you guys are going to plant?
We have the American sycamore and the ginkgo tree.
And how did you determine that those are ideal trees to plant around the schools?
Well, the American sycamore is native here, so we thought it also has high aesthetic value. The bark is really unique and it looks nice, and it also has a nice canopy. And the ginkgo tree, we thought of something just unique and something that's not around here. And it would be a tree that's really, it's a really durable tree, so it could easily survive around here, and it has a high aesthetic value too.
And it increases our biodiversity.
Right.
It could also be a different home for animals, for wildlife.
Right, like our inventory, or the inventory we have now is not very biodiverse, especially like species-wise. So by adding those two trees, we would definitely increase the species diversity.
In the long run, we're trying to increase the biodiversity of this district.
You mentioned the use of the green roof. How does that tie into the tree management plan itself? Is that a cost that's coming out of the plan?
So with the money that we're saving from the energy costs, we could put a little bit into it just to make a green roof, because that will also help us save energy costs. So you got to spend money to make money, so we're spending money to get a green roof to save more energy. If that makes sense.
You mentioned the 10-20-30 rule, and that our black walnut population violates that considerably. Would just removing a lot of those black walnuts solve that problem for us?
Like most of the black walnuts are in really good condition. So instantly removing the tree is just, it's not going to help, because it's going to increase the value as it ages, and so just removing it is just not a very good idea. But in the long run, we're trying to increase the biodiversity, so we're just not going to plant as many more black walnuts and try to limit their population as we go on.
There are a few black walnuts that are very risky. They have a few have 10, a few have 9, so we will remove those trees that are at great risk.
And plus, the community wouldn't be very fond of the idea of just cutting down trees because there are too many of them. Having too many trees isn't really bad.
Right. And it also adds to the value with more shade. And also cutting down the larger trees would also limit our uneven age diversity that we have here. So because a lot of those black walnuts are large trees, we wouldn't plant as many, but we might plant a few each time we plant to keep up the uneven age distribution.
You mentioned that students get better grades, have better concentration. You didn't really explain how or why that is. It seems kind of nebulous and made up to me. Can you elaborate, I guess?
There have been many studies through universities throughout the United States, really, where they take students and they put them in classrooms with a clear view of trees outside of the window, and then they have kids in classrooms with an unclear view, and they take, there's actually test with Lexile or the proofreading. There's a proofreading test done in elementary school, I think, when the kids, there are three groups of kids. One group, they took the test, and then they went out to a urban environment, and they took the test again, and then another group of kids just stayed there, and then the third group went out to a rural environment with a lot of trees, and it was that group of kids that scored higher on their test the next time they took it.
It's the psychological benefits of trees is sort of like a new thing in this decade, and so a lot of people do have trouble believing that, oh, trees do reduce stress or help students with ADHD, but there has been a lot of studies recently showing that trees do in fact help students in the classroom.
And in addition to just like the learning abilities, it's also for patients in hospitals. They actually heal quicker if they have like a view of trees from their hospital window. They did tests where like people who were, they all had the same like surgery or procedure done, and the people with trees outside their windows got released at least a day earlier than the people who did not.
And the research also does a really good job on limiting like the confounding variables that are like behind the research that they do.
That be all from the judges?